All right, let's bring in Rick Bucher. Interesting night in the NBA. I thought it was one of the better regular season nights. Warriors have now won 7 straight road games. LeBron back-to-back wins. But I want to start with Wemby and Chet Holmgren because Wemby is so overshadowed Chet Holmgren. He's having a great year. But it does, when you look at the splits for Wemby in October, November, December, and Wemby now, he's stronger, he's more defiant. Offensively, he's more efficient. Would you even acknowledge, and you liked him, it's a little better faster than we thought with Wemby?
Yeah, I would go along with that. But look, Colin, we're in a microwave society. We expect it to happen right away. The kid's 19, and he's not on and I want to underscore this. This is not a good San Antonio team. I mean, the biggest difference, aside from the fact that Chet Holmgren had a full year to get acclimated to everything surrounding the NBA, everything about the NBA other than being in actual games, he had that head start. But he's also on a really, really good team. And Wembanyama is not. And for all that an individual player can do, it still requires to have a few guys around you that can do some things. And Victor is just finding out all the different things that he can do. I was just down in Orlando a couple weeks ago and was sitting about 10, 15 feet away from him while they played the Magic. And he's a phenomenon just looking at him. And then you see him play and all the things that he can do at his size. It's been said many times before, but it has to be underscored. We've never seen anything like him before. The length and the size and the skills and the flexibility and the agility. He is going to redefine the game in the way that it is played because he is going to be a matchup nightmare that the league has never seen before.
You know, Rick, I said this, and again, in my lifetime, because I only saw Wilt briefly, but I saw 7 players, only 7, the Magnificent 7, come into this league. And they were not just great, they were spectacular and totally unique. And the 7 are Kareem in the late 60s. It's about one every decade. Okay. Into Magic, late 79. Into MJ, Shaq, LeBron, Steph, and then I classify Wemby. Holmgren kind of plays like him. He's not that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not counting Wilt, who probably counted as that, or a Dr. J. But that, to me, I like Kobe. He felt like MJ Light. I like Bird. He wasn't as dynamic as Magic. I think Wemby's one of the 7 players that you get once a decade. Is that hyperbolic?
No, it's not, because what is unique about all the guys that you mentioned and where Wembanyama fits with them is that it's a combination of supreme athleticism or size, physical ability that is unique and superior to anything, combined with a skill level that is at a superior level. And that's what makes it unique. And a lot of people would immediately push back and say that, well, does Shaq really fit into that category? Shaq didn't have the range, the jump shot range, obviously, but his ability to finish with either hand around the basket, his footwork, his agility for his size. I think we think of the Shaquille O'Neal at the end that was a little bit lumbering and wasn't as mobile. But when he first came into the league, he was as mobile as any big man that we'd seen. So that, to me, is what distinguishes all of them. And the one guy that I would throw in the category, well, I won't put him in the category, but could have been in the category, is Bill Walton. Unique as a big, with his skills, with his size, simply couldn't stay healthy enough to make a mark.
So I watched the Warriors, and I've been watching them now for a couple of weeks, and they're very interesting. So they're either old, Clay, Steph, Draymond, Chris Paul, or they're really young, Kuminga, Moody, Pods, or the young kid. Out of the second round out of Indiana. Dale Davis' son, by the way. I didn't know that until recently. So this is where I argue that Draymond's now really valuable because he's such a great communicator. Whenever TNT or ESPN wires him during games, he is, Steph's doing his offense. Steph's doing his thing and his own leadership, but he's running the team. Draymond's a coach, and this team, to bridge really old or really young, needs Draymond. And since he's come back, Rick, you know the Warriors as well as anybody, they're a different team.
Yeah.
They are, and they have size now because between Saric and the young kid out of Indiana, Kuminga's long, Looney, I don't know. Like, I look at him and I'm like, this to me is a team that could vie for the Western Conference. I know Denver's better and matches up.
I know you've said that.
I know Denver's better.
Yeah.
Take Denver out. Jamal Murray gets banged up.
Yeah.
Again, am I going crazy on the Warriors?
Yeah, a little bit. You're going a little bit crazy. But hey, Colin, look, we've known each other for a long time. If you weren't going a little too far, you wouldn't be Colin Cowherd. So
okay.
I understand and I appreciate. And there is a window. Look, if it wasn't for the Warriors and all they've done and all they've been and how unique their system is and unique their players are and their culture is, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. I mean, we're talking about a team that, is the 10th seed right now, and you have the audacity to say, you know what, they could be in the Western Conference Finals. We wouldn't talk about them, and I wouldn't tolerate it if it weren't for the fact that there is a little bit of truth there. Now, here's the reality. Again, it goes back to the whole microwave society idea, is that we want things to happen instantly. And the biggest mistake we can make with any team in the NBA in today's game is to judge them on the first month or two, especially teams that know how to play at a championship level. It's not just that Draymond was out and back, but you're adding all sorts of new pieces. You mentioned them. Jonathan Kuminga's playing a different role. He and Steve Kerr had to work out their differences. Chris Paul joins them, and then he gets hurt. Klay Thompson, he's got to adjust to being on the bench. So they had a lot of moving parts that they had to figure out, and now they are beginning to figure them out. You are right, and you're more right than you know, because it's not just Draymond being able to organize them defensively. He's also their playmaker offensively. He takes a lot off of Steph's plate when he's out there. The last part is, you look at their team collectively. Who is the vocal leader, or who steps in to be the vocal leader if Draymond Green is not there? It's not Steph. It's not it's not Kuminga. It's not Dario Saric. It's not Jonathan Kuminga. Like that, just that energy that he brings changes the dynamic of this team. And so you're right. There are so many intangibles that Draymond brings to the table that it's not just that he brings them and he's good at them, but they really don't have anybody else on that roster that can fill them when he's not there.
So we got into this discussion, J-Mac and I did yesterday, is that when international players come to the States, most of them, it's like when we visit Europe. You know, we stay on task, we stay on our schedule, we tip more than we would in the States, we're very respectful of the culture, we stay focused. We're not just making stuff up, right? Get in a car and drive. You don't really do that. When international players come here, they're more loyal, they're more mature, they're more focused, they stay on task, they get their sleep. There's been a few. Luka came in with some tude, which I'm okay with. But when I watch Giannis, he's been westernized. He came in like that. Now he's like, get the coach out. Get me Dame. And it's not great. I don't mind him doing that. He's been westernized. Like, it's now like, okay, I see how the game works. I win a title. You're still on my butt. I got to win 3. I get the game now. I get the American basketball culture. I said, if they got knocked out in the first round, Cleveland knocks them out, whoever knocks them out, Knicks, whoever. If they get Julius Randle, if they get the guys back, the Knicks are dealing with injuries.
Those two teams are knocking them out. But,
okay. All right. But my point is, if they don't win a couple playoff series in Milwaukee, Giannis, I fired the coach, I got Dame. I don't think it's crazy if he goes to the management and says, make a move. Dame's not getting younger. He's not better defensively. We're an old roster. I do think Milwaukee's got to get to a conference final, or the new Giannis, he understands the game and how we judge great players. he's going to want. I don't think it's crazy. He'll make demands again. You think it's true?
Sure. Yeah, no, I would expect that he would expect that there would be changes made. Now, how he approaches that and whether he says, if you don't, I'm leaving, that's the rub. Because, and we've talked about it before, let's make it clear. The reason that they did the Damian Lillard deal wasn't because they thought, well, this is the missing piece and now we're going to win a championship. It was Giannis was making noise about, I don't know if I want to stay here or not, and it doesn't make sense for me to sign an extension until next year anyway. And then they make the deal for Damian Lillard, and not only does he take the financial hit by signing right away, but everything is suddenly hunky-dory. This is my question, is he going to be accountable for the fact that the coaching change that they had to make, because Adrian Griffin was his choice over Nick Nurse, and getting Damian Lillard and what that's done to them defensively, is he going to be is he going to hold himself accountable and say, I'm the reason we are the way we are? And I have no problem with him saying, hey, you know what? Okay, so we got Damian. Coaching thing didn't work out, but we're not good enough to continue to contend. What are we going to do next? I don't have a problem with him asking for that. But the last thing I want to hear is Giannis saying, hey, if we don't fix this and fix this now, then I want out of Milwaukee, because the Milwaukee Bucks are what they are right now because of what Giannis Antetokounmpo asked them to be. And so he has been westernized. There's no question. Or he's been empowered as a player in a way that most international players, when they come over, they're just grateful that they've got a team that wants to build around them, that they're vested in them. That's still unique for them. And it's certainly not the way that European teams operate, so they're not used to that. But I don't want him so westernized that you either fix it or I'm going to someplace that I see is better.
Finally, a little birdie whispered this to me last night in the NBA. Donovan Mitchell is going to be...
By the way, Colin, I'm a little worried about who you're hanging out with, especially when it comes to the NBA takes lately. I'm concerned about the influences on you, but go ahead.
Donovan Mitchell will be a Knick or a Laker by this time next year. That's what I've been told. He'll be a Knick. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a bad call, but he would be a Knick.
Why?
So here's the thing. I mean, we know that the Knicks already wanted him, right?
Yeah.
And he wanted to go back home to New York. So I've been hearing sort of the same rumblings in terms of him. Well, he's got another year, but if he doesn't opt in, then it's the last year, and Cleveland doesn't want to be. They would have to make a move. The indications would be that they would move him next season or at some point going into next season if they get the indication that he's not looking to stay there long term. Here's the problem for the Lakers in wanting Donovan Mitchell is that they've got as many as three future first-round picks to trade for him. The Knicks have way more assets, and they've already indicated that they want him, and Donovan's already indicated that that's the place that he'd like to be. So if push comes to shove, then he will be a New York Knick. So, and I would not be surprised at all if that happened. So in this case, whatever little bird that you ran across, that was a good bird. You can go back to that bird. There've been a couple of other birds I think that you've been listening to lately. We need them to run them out of town.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Rick Bucher, as always, joins us. Have fun and good seeing you, buddy.
Same.
Yeah.